So I just finished watching Sony's big event, and they haven't had one for about a year and a half at this point. There were a lot of things in this that were spoiled ahead of time because there were some leaks, but still, it was really nice to see these things confirmed, and I have a lot more questions. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing because this thing was over an hour long, and that me talking about my thoughts about every single game that they showed in this incredibly dense hour of content, that would stretch out way beyond that. So I'm just going to talk about the games and things that were announced that I think are the most interesting.
Oh, hey, man. Hey, what are you up to? I'm getting ready to take on a monster camp in Zelda, so I'm cooking up a bunch of food and elixirs. Dang it, nasty food again. How come you're not using the recipe cards? There's recipe cards? Yeah, push that button. You see, it makes cooking in the game so much easier, just like our sponsor, HelloFresh. HelloFresh delivers chef-crafted recipes featuring ripe seasonal ingredients delivered right to your door. No worries if you're not a pro in the kitchen. HelloFresh's foolproof recipes arrive pre-portioned and easy to prepare in just a few steps that are all listed on the recipe cards. Plus, their quick and easy meals make cooking a cinch without the hefty price tag. And their fast and fresh options are ready in just 15 minutes, so you can get back to what's really important to you. So go to HelloFresh.com and use code NerdNest16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com and use code NerdNest16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping.
First up is Alan Wake 2. I loved the first game. It was really, really awesome. I played it on my Xbox 360 back in the day. I have it on PC. I've played it since then, but I've never actually finished the game. Overall, I really liked the atmosphere of the first one, and I loved how the enemies looked like shadows until you shined your flashlight on them, which would make them solid enough for you to actually be able to shoot at. And all of that seems like it's back in this new version of Alan Wake. But you're not playing as Alan this time. You are playing as some FBI investigators who I think might be in an Alan Wake book, and then Alan is also in the Alan Wake book. It's a really weird series. One thing that I really hope to see again is in the original game, they had this TV show that had its own story peppered throughout the actual game, because as you went through, you could see that the TV was on and you could watch like these little Twilight Zone-ish episodes on TVs that were left on throughout the game. I absolutely love that. And I also really, really liked how it was structured like a TV show where you would play a chapter and then they would say next time on Alan Wake. And then when you get to the next chapter, it would say previously on Alan Wake. As somebody who has kind of a short attention span when it comes to playing video games, I love that stuff because that means I can walk away for a little bit and then come back later and jump right back in where I left off, just playing it one chapter at a time. I love that bite-sized style of content. That game is coming out this October, and it's absolutely going to be one of the games that I pick up this fall. I do have to say, there are so many games that are coming out this year. We do not have room for all of them. All right, let's move on. Probably the game that I am most excited for from the PlayStation Showcase is one that I don't feel like I got super excited from this trailer, and that's Final Fantasy 16. I'm already sold on it. I am hyped for that game. I am going to be playing that on day one. I've been looking forward to it for a really long time, and this looks really fantastic, but I don't feel like I got to see anything new, or maybe I just kind of tuned out a little bit during the presentation for Final Fantasy because I'm already sold and I don't want to know anything else. I want to go in as blind as I possibly can, especially being somebody that covers this stuff. So I think it looks awesome. I can't wait to play it, but I am really curious. Did this trailer feel like kind of a letdown after getting to see all of the gameplay that we saw in the previous Final Fantasy 16 stuff? Let me know in the comments down below. Moving on, a game that has been rumored for a while that people have been really, really hyped for, but I personally have zero attachment to, is Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. It's called Metal Gear Solid, and it looks like it has a delta, which is like the Greek letter delta after that. And then they call it Twin Snakes, which is essentially Metal Gear Solid 3, from my understanding as somebody who's never played one of the Metal Gear Solid games. It was just a cutscene trailer. Like, we didn't actually get to see gameplay. I'm going to hold my reservations back right now until we get to find out more about it. But I know how much everybody loves the Metal Gear series, and Metal Gear Solid 3 is something that people are always saying is like one of the best in that series. So for them to basically be rebooting the series and going back into, was it Twin Snakes or Snake Eater? I can't remember off the top of my head. Correct me in the comments if I got it wrong. But in addition to that, they've also got Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, and Snake Eater. Like a trilogy is coming, but they called it Volume 1. So I imagine that we're going to be seeing a different Solid Gear Metal Gear, I'm sorry, a Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 that has some of the other games in it as well. It's supposed to come out this fall. I'm more interested in Alan Wake. For me personally, tell me all of the reasons why I should be hyped for Metal Gear Solid 3 in the comments down below. Okay, this one I'm not excited for, but I am intrigued by. It's from Square Enix, and it is essentially Splatoon with terrain changing stuff on PlayStation. So it's called Foam Stars, and it looks like you are fighting enemies with soap, and the soap is different colors, but the bubbles in the soap basically give you a platform to move around on, which seems really cool. Now, from what I saw in this game, the characters are very Fortnite-like, which makes me think that this is absolutely going to be riddled with microtransactions and a battle pass so that you can play dress up with your characters, which that doesn't bother me as long as it doesn't affect gameplay. But it's also one of these things where we've seen so many games that just get shut down because they didn't perform well. For instance, a game that I absolutely loved I played it on my Xbox, but it was also on Switch and PC, and I think it was on PlayStation as well, is that Knockout City, which was essentially a dodgeball game. It was really, really fun, but it didn't get super popular fast enough, and so that game got shut down. And I think that that's the same thing that we're going to see from Foam Stars, which is too bad, because right now, the only way to play Splatoon-like is on Nintendo Switch, and I would like to see like that genre of painting the floor and trying to gain territory by covering the floor in the color of your team faster than the others, or better than the others. Like, that to me is a really compelling gameplay loop. I love Splatoon 1. Splatoon 2 was absolutely fantastic. I passed on Splatoon 3. I'd like to see somebody else do this genre that Nintendo kind of invented. There's going to be people in chat or in the comment section that are like, Bill, this game came before that. Well, I didn't play that game. So Foam Stars, I'm really not looking forward to that one. Okay, speaking of games that I thought that I wasn't looking forward to at first, but then they twisted it, this one is called The Plucky Squire, which was giving me some serious Paper Mario vibes, especially the Paper Mario game where it was like 3D and you could like move around things in 3D. It seemed like this game was a mix between Paper Mario and A Link Between Worlds on the 3DS, because the character is both in 2D on books and pages and objects in the world, but then you can break out of those objects and move around in the world in 3D. I really like the art style. I think it looks cool, and it's definitely something that I am interested in quite a bit. Okay, one thing that we had seen talked about before, but we hadn't actually gotten any confirmation until now, is that Sony has essentially chopped a DualSense controller in half, slapped I'm going to guess, an Android tablet between them with an 8-inch screen that allows you to stream games from your PlayStation. We've got some information here from The Verge. They say Sony has officially confirmed it's working on a PlayStation handheld to make it easier to play your PS5 games. It was announced at Wednesday's PlayStation Showcase. It's called Project Q. We are launching a dedicated device to let you stream any game from your PS5 console using Remote Play over Wi-Fi. We're going to talk about that in just a second. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan said during the PlayStation Showcase, it's internally known as Project Q. It has an 8-inch HD screen and all the buttons and features of a DualSense wireless controller. Okay, well, first off, over Wi-Fi. That's a very interesting phrase for them to use here because it makes me think that this is not something you're going to take with you outside of your house. You are streaming this to your house or to your device in your home Wi-Fi network. Why would Sony do it like that? Well, because when you are out and about, your ability to connect to the internet is very unstable. Like, you're going to have places that you go that are going to have fantastic internet and places that you go that are going to have terrible internet. And it's just too unpredictable in order to really give the player a consistent experience. So if Sony says, well, you just got to do it on your home Wi-Fi network, this thing needs to be cheap. If it's not cheap, then it is not worth it, in my opinion. It doesn't matter how good the screen is. It needs to be cheap because you can't play games locally on it, and you can't take it. If you can't take it with you outside the house, I think that this is going to be a complete flop unless it's super cheap. So what's the right price for Sony's Project Q? Well, a DualSense controller is $70, and a cheap tablet that you can stream stuff to, you could probably get for $100. I don't see people buying this thing for $200 if you can only stream to it, because at that price I could buy a Switch Lite and I could play games locally on a Switch Lite whether I have an internet connection or not. And listen, this is not me being down on streaming. I am all for video game streaming. It works fantastically well. But if you can only use Remote Play over Wi-Fi, then that's a completely different, like that's a no-go for me unless it's really cheap. That being said, maybe they're just saying, okay, well, you use Wi-Fi wherever you happen to be. That's a completely different story, and you can charge more for that if that's the case, if you don't have to be on the same Wi-Fi network. I think that that's something that we really need to know more about. But they still don't actually have a name for it, so I'm not really sure if we're going to be seeing this anytime soon. They also, at the same time, mentioned some Sony earbuds that are supposed to be low latency earbuds, so you don't have cans that go like over your ears. Instead, you just have like, I don't have my headphones. Oh, you just have a pair of headphones like my my Apple, whatever these things are called, AirPod Pros or whatever. Kind of like that, but for Sony stuff. They do work for both the PlayStation and your PC, so that's compelling, but they didn't say anything about whether or not they work as a phone. Oh, no. It also connects to Bluetooth at the same time. So you can use these on your PlayStation, on your PC, and on your phone. That's actually going to be pretty compelling, depending on the price, because if they price them too high, which I know that Sony is likely to do, I think a lot of people are just stick with what they already have. Let's move on to the final announcement, and that was Spider-Man 2. I think that this looks awesome. I played a little bit of the first one. I never played Miles Morales. I want to play those games, but they've been in my backlog and I've never gotten around to them. So I may just skip those and jump right in with Spider-Man 2. And I gotta say, this looks fantastic. The gameplay looked really, really solid. The cutscenes were gorgeous. And I love the idea of the story. Now, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody out there, but essentially it looks like you can swap between Spider-Man and Miles Morales Spider-Man on the fly. So between Miles Morales and Peter Parker, which seems really, really cool, especially because those two Spider-Men, I don't know if that's how you would say it, they have different powers. Now, I don't know this for sure because I never played Miles Morales Spider-Man, but it sounded like it was the same voice actor that was in the Spider-Man animated movie. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I was kind of overwhelmed by everything that was happening. But I think that this looks awesome. I love that Peter has like a little bit of an edge to him, and we'll find out more when that comes out. It says this fall. It was announced 2 years ago, so it's been quite a while. But that's my favorite stuff from the Sony showcase. What was your favorite stuff? Let me know in the comments down below. And the last thing I'll say is if you enjoyed this video, then you'll probably enjoy this video as well. From the Nerd Nest, stay rad, everybody.